Hey everyone, Duel 13 here. Just got done watching Raw and the subsequent after show and all that. We had an interesting one today. Some good things, a lot of good things in my opinion. Some that make me honestly scratch my head and wondering what the hell they're thinking, but obviously not as good as last week, nor was I expecting it to be, because that show was just amazing. Now I will say that I had a phone call, so I had to step away. I didn't see the 205 Live matchup, or save for the end. Which, come on, TJ, you should be better. You should know better than that. You should know he freaking played you, man. Anyway, first thing we get on Raw is The Miz and Maurice are now on the Raw brand, which I didn't say it on the I didn't say it on my predictions video, but I kind of figured that would be the case, because really there's nothing more you can do with them on the Raw brand or on the SmackDown. Although it's going to be sad to not see him on SmackDown, because I feel that they had more ability to be themselves. And they came out, they swerved us again. They made us think that John Cena was in the building. And nope, it wasn't John. It was the Miz and Maurice dressed up as John and Nikki. That is never going to stop being funny to me. And then Dean Ambrose came out. And this is where I got my first problem, because I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is he here? Because honestly, like, I didn't want Dean to go, because I wanted the IC title to be on SmackDown. Now, if they're going to make it where Kevin Owens goes to Raw, that will be interesting. Seeing him interact with Shane again, which was funny when he first got on, like, that'll be pretty interesting to see. But the fact that now that both secondary belts are on Raw, say for tomorrow, if Dean comes back and relinquishes the SmackDown belt, that's a little worrying for me. I'll speak more about it tomorrow or depending on what happens. After that, we had some really not a whole lot of anything, really. Like I said, the 205 Live match, Nia Jax versus Charlotte. I'm surprised Charlotte, like, if Charlotte is not going tomorrow, I'm surprised, because really there's nothing more for her to do with, or nothing more for her to do. After that we had the first good segment of the show. It's a backstage segment with Sami Zayn and The Miz, or Sami Zayn and Kurt Angle and The Miz. Again, as I always do, I might get these wrong, but I'm trying to cover everything, so forgive me on that. Sami is like, I don't know what's going on, I just know I want to still be on here. And Kurt goes, well, Sami is letting you know that there are a lot of people that kind of want you on SmackDown. The man is pretty high. And you could tell that he's thinking, like, okay, how high? What can I get at, or if we're going to SmackDown, essentially. Then The Miz shows up. The Miz is trying to do his usual Miz BS. Kurt's not having any of it. Puts The Miz and Sami Zayn in a match. More on that a bit. But I do like before they cut to the Charlotte Nia Jax match, he's like, 2 weeks, I've been here 2 weeks. But you can tell he's already getting annoyed at the job. Like I said, like 205 Live and the Nia Jax match happened. Then Seth Rollins came out, said, I know I might be going because I attacked the commissioner or commissioner's husband and helped inadvertently sent the commissioner through a table. So like he came pretty much to say goodbye until Kurt Angle said, "You're not going anywhere under my regime. Under my regime." I'm hoping that's true because I do not want Seth to be on SmackDown now that Dean is on Raw. That's the only good thing about Dean being on Raw. If he even is on Raw, we'll find out again tomorrow. After that, we had a couple of matches. Jinder Mahal versus Finn Balor. Jinder looks like he is taking all of the drugs, and looks like he gave Finn a legit concussion with that hit. That looked nasty. The Revival and the New Day had a rematch. There is one spot that I saw on this that was actually really it was really good to see. It looked cool, but it looked like it was a botch, where Kofi is out, or if you hadn't heard, Kofi is out. Because of last week's segment, or post their match, the Revival either fractured or broke his foot. So Kofi Kingston, all the respect, hope speedy recovery. So it was Big E and Xavier, which I'm glad Xavier was more time on screen, because he is actually a legitimately good wrestler when they let him do his thing. So E's in the ring. Woods tags himself in, goes to the other side of the ring, and does kind of like a coast to coast elbow drop, but he kind of missed. So it looked like he landed on his knee first, like you're supposed to, but he looked like he landed a little too early, and he had to reach to get the knee over. It still looked pretty fun. It still looked pretty cool. Revival won, though, good, which is a good thing for me. I think they need to be made to look strong, so that way, after Sheamus and Cesaro, they can be the next logical feud for either Sheamus and Cesaro if they win, or the Hardys. One thing I forgot to mention about the Finn Balor match: Bray Wyatt is now on Raw, and the Raw pay-per-view will be hosting the SmackDown title match. So we don't know. I am pretty sure this is going to be either a temporary thing, or we are going to have an interesting development where all 4 major belts are on Raw at one point, and it'll start looking like SmackDown is the B show once again. Unless the superstar shakeup, what it really means is that there's going to be guys that are headlining Raw, headlining SmackDown, but it's going to be in between for both. It's going to be really interesting to see tomorrow. I'll give more of my thoughts tomorrow, and probably on a video later that week. Sorry. So, after that, we had the Sami Zayn Miz match, which that was a fun sentence to say for multiple reasons. One, because as you guys know by now, I'm a huge Sami Zayn fan, and the Miz, like I said, he's probably been one of the best heels on SmackDown for the last 6 or 7 months. So that was actually a really good match. Maurice got involved, as she's one to do, and roll up win. Looked like it could have gone. It looked like it was kind of it was booked, or it was called a little off, but I kind of liked it because it made Sammy look, or it didn't make, or the Miz look weak, or Sammy look strong. It was a good middle ground between the two of them. Sammy, though, as much as I love him, he has to get rid of that gimmick of the least or of the talentless wrestler, or the wrestler that loses a lot. Afterwards, we had what was probably the best segment, and the one I was waiting to talk about, because we had a backstage segment with Roman. Roman comes out, Roman is in a backstage interview with Michael Cole. And he's talking about the match against Taker, how even he didn't he's kind of going back to his normal babyface persona a little bit, and saying, I prepare for everything. I didn't expect to retire a legend, but that's what it looked like I'm doing. All respect to Taker. Before he could get another word out edgewise, Braun Strowman attacks. And to put it the amount of carnage they did with it. The first there was 3 parts to this attack. The first one can be summed up with that Simpsons quote of "Stop, stop, he's already dead." The second one is Braun pulled a Zack Ryder, or a cane on Zack Ryder. Elaborating further, he had beaten up Roman pretty damn good, where they had to get the stretcher out because it was backstage and all that shit hurts. Power slammed him onto a rolling crate, or ran a toolbox into his gut, and then they put him onto a stretcher. And it's kind of hard to tell if it was if they did it was a model, or if it was probably a model. It was probably fake. But Braun grabs the stretcher from behind the meds and throws it to where it lands between 2 trucks and flies off the ramp, off the loading ramp. That was actually really funny, because at this point everybody in the audience is going, "Thank you, Strowman," which had to be a delight for old Vince to hear. Then they load Roman into the stretcher, and you hear, "I'm not done with you yet." Strowman gets on, starts beating up, I almost said Cena there. Starts beating up Roman more, closes both doors, gets out, and then proceeds in what I can only describe as a feat of Herculean strength. He pushes the ambulance on its side. Now, obviously, I'm not an idiot, and I know this was a rigged thing, that they probably had a winch on the other side helping him pull it, but the way it was shot and framed, it looked like he was doing this shit himself. And that is amazing. It was framed perfectly, and it looked fucking awesome. Braun Strowman became everybody's hero at once, save for a couple of little kids, which I heard actually had to leave the arena because they were crying so much. So they had to walk out. They walked out for a little bit. That is how you book Braun Strowman. You make him out to be a monster. You call him the Monster of a Man, you make him out to be a monster. And that whole segment was amazing. Finally, after that, they finally loaded Roman onto an actual ambulance, a smaller one, and they left, and Cole did the usual, "Okay, guys, we will fill you out with info as we get it." The story goes that it's a couple bruised ribs, maybe a separated shoulder, If Roman is out for a couple weeks, won't necessarily be a good thing, won't necessarily be a bad thing. But we'll see how it goes. Following that, as the only way they could, they had an 8-man tag team, or pitting the Shining Stars and the Club versus Sheamus and Cesaro and the Hardys. Interesting for a couple reasons, the main one is that Matt and Jeff are going to face Sheamus and Cesaro at Payback. That's going to be an awesome match. I think it's not even written in his contract. I think Jeff Hardy just has something in his in his mind that tells him he has to jump off something at least 6 feet in height every match, or he's going to die. Because the way they finished the match, of course, is him doing a sunset flip off the beam. Never not gonna look cool, but Jeff, you're not 20 anymore, man. You could lay off that, man. So that was a good match. And really, like, it was kind of mediocre afterwards. Like, the Drifter did show up during that match. Like, he walked with his, like, he apparently bought a new guitar. He walked with the guitar out right by the announce table. Came back, or like nothing really happened of it. I was kind of hoping he would kind of pledge himself to the Hardys, or try to join the club later. I'm hoping that something happens, or like they're just trying to make it like he's just passing through and he's gonna go to SmackDown. Because I could actually see him on SmackDown, unless he is gonna do what everyone wants him to do, team up with Bray Wyatt, which that won't be a bad thing either. He just looks like a Wyatt. And we had two more surprise entries, or surprise guests. Like, we already knew Kurt Hawkins came out earlier the show. Like, it was basically like he's continuing his stick from SmackDown where he's just the jobber. Big Show came out, KO punched him once and then left. So, the Lucha Dragons are back together, so we're going to have Kalisto back with Sin Cara. Okay, that's going to be a good one. Let's see, another thing, or other things that happened. Apollo Crews is another one. Heath Slater and Rhino. Then I called one of them, and it was Alexa Bliss. That was the only prediction I got right this weekend that I know so far. But for Raw, or from SmackDown to Raw, the only prediction I got right was Alexa Bliss. I'm okay with this because not only she came, but Mickie James came too. So now the Raw women have 4 more people other than Bayley, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, and Charlotte. They also have Dana Brooke, Emma, Mickie James, and of course Alexa Bliss, which I like. I like this. This is not going to be a bad thing. Seeing Alexa Bliss versus Bayley won't be bad at all. I believe the final, I believe it was the final the final match on Raw was a champion versus champion match, pitting Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens, United States versus IC title. This was a great match, great way to end the show. Could have gone on a little longer. They could have kicked off one of the segments, make it a little bit longer. That would have been awesome. That would have been fine for me. It's a great match. Dean won. Way to make him look strong. If they do send the U.S. title to SmackDown, it's a good way to make it where it'll kind of make sense. But like I said, we'll find out tomorrow. That's gonna be a lot of my thing. Find out tomorrow. In terms of Raw this week, like I said, it wasn't nearly as good as last week, but I didn't expect it to be. Still better than most of the Raws they've done in the last month and a half. Will this take us anywhere? I don't know. Will anything come of any... Like, what will happen? Not entirely sure. But I'm excited to see... Or I'm excited to see things. And like I said, stay tuned for tomorrow. Well, I guess tonight when this comes out, because it'll come like with how this usually goes. I will record my thoughts on SmackDown, and we will see just how much of a shakeup this really is. Oh, before I forget, I found out just right now, Byron Saxton is now on SmackDown's announce team. Hoping that they just keep it to Corey, or David Otunga is moving to Raw, and I'm okay with this because I'm hoping that they at least give, or that something happens. Won't talk too much into it, but like I said, find out tomorrow. Let's see what goes on. So, this has been the Moon 13. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, and have a good night.